Hello everyone and welcome to Who Cares, where we're going to discuss and debate the Doctor on his adventures through space and time.
So get ready for that brief moment of clarity Stephen Moffat has post his Rule 34 Clara porn binge.
Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
I'm Jake.
And this is Who Cares, like we said. We're here to talk about episode 6 of series 10 of Doctor Who, Extremis, directed by David... I guess I should have thought about the pronunciation before we started this. Daniel Nethim. I screwed that up.
David Daniel Nethim?
Did I say David? No, it's Daniel. Daniel
Ignore Dave. David was just the prop guy.
David.
And written by Stephen Moffat.
Yeah, guy you might have heard of. Stephen Moffat.
And while we will discuss the Moffat-y thing he did do in this episode, and boy is it Moffat-y. Good episode. Another one. We're 6 for 6 right now.
I think we're 5.5 for 6. I still think Knock Knock was pretty friggin' weak, but God.
Well, yeah. Okay, I'll do 5.5, but I definitely am not in disappointment mode yet. Which means, again, the longer we go without it, the worse it's gonna be.
I'm worried it might be next week, but we'll find out then. This week, let's still be happy. This is sort of like, remember, Hellbent, which was so good, when the one with the Doctor on his own, which actually had sort of a similar twist to this one, also written by Stephen Moffat, and then the next episode was a disappointment. I'm afraid we're in for that kind of a scenario here, but... Is
the next one Moffat too? Because it makes sense that it would be... This is the 3-parter?
This is the 3-parter. The next one is written by Moffat and co-written by someone else. So...
Oh, he had someone else in the room, but it's probably someone we hate. So.
Anyway, this episode, I don't know how long we're going to actually talk about the plot, because you can sort of tell Doctor Who episodes apart which ones are the 2-parters, almost just by watching them, because you can feel the breathing room. You can almost feel when it's a 2-parter, or a 3-parter in this case, because there's more moments of silence and just letting things happen, whereas...
Which I actually prefer. Like, honestly, I think if they went to, like, an hour 15 format, I think we'd have better episodes, because a lot of the problems is cutting and under explanation and
even just an
not
hour
building
I don't
characters.
Even need that at 15 minutes at the end. An hour would be fine. I think right now they are 45 roughly. I think an hour's fine. But anyway,
for the most part, I don't know.
Anyway, so this episode opens and the Doctor gets visited by the Pope and a bunch of people. Actually, some stuff happens before that, I think. But what was it? Why do I keep forgetting the opening episode?
Bill's on a date, sort of.
Was that
she
the
brings
first
someone home?
Thing?
Yeah, she brings this girl Penny home, which I liked later on because the Doctor's like near the end of the episode, he asks, he does a sort of recall thing. And he's like, "Hey, call that girl, and because we're gonna be busy pretty soon." Basically, it's almost like a shore leave situation. But like more compassionate because it's his friend.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So the Doctor's still blind, which I'm glad that carried over, although he is using the sonic sunglasses to sort of see. He's psychically connected to them so he can see shapes and outlines, but he can't actually make out details.
But he can't see people, which is interesting. He can see life signs of people and he can get their information, but he can't see exactly where they're at, which is kind of cool. And I actually wish they would have done a little bit more with that, because later on he encounters the baddies of the episodes, and if it would have been just like question marks and unknown, I think that would have been interesting from his perspective.
Well, that happened briefly when they looked at the portal the first time. It says like
right,
you know,
but they didn't do it again, and they were all around him. So
yes, I agree. I get what you're saying. That's a little bit of a plot hole actually as well. Why he didn't notice that time that it said gender unknown, blah, 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 whatever. But there are sort of two halves to this episode, I guess. I want to talk about them separately because for all intents and purposes, they have very little to do with each other. So we have the flashbacks to before the Doctor took an oath when he's in front of Missy about to be executed, and then you have the meat of the episode. So let's talk about the Missy thing first. The Missy thing is interesting in that we actually find out the person behind the door is definitely Missy. But there's sort of a mislead in the episode where about halfway through the episode, you're supposed to think it's Missy's dead body. which I actually think would be a good twist. Oh, it's the dead body of the master. It has nothing to do with the doctor being compassionate. He has become basically what do they call it? An undertaker, a person who sort of takes care of a crypt or whatever. That would have been an interesting twist, I think. But then, of course, near the end, you find out he didn't kill the master. He fucked with it, and she's just... I don't even know. She just got knocked
She's
out.
a prisoner. She's a prisoner.
But
what he did was basically... also, in the episode before that, he literally says, I know what it takes to kill a person. And so he just changes the parameters of this machine while they're not looking. And because he is alone with it at the beginning of it. And then she gets knocked out for a second. And then she wakes up. And then she gets knocked out again. Or she pretends to, but it's still funny. And then he puts her in the thing, which is actually worse than just killing her and making her alive later. Because she has to experience 1,000 years inside this fucking literal tomb box.
He brought her Chinese food, though, once, so it's okay.
Hey, dude, I live in a place where there's no fucking Chinese people. It's basically all white people, so I haven't had good Chinese food in like 2 years. I'm dying here.
I'm sorry.
I'll get locked up for a year in a thing to have good Chinese food once a week.
That's good to know. So that all happens, and we see how Nardole found the doctor. I guess River sent him after for whatever reason. By the way, nice character moment in this episode when the doctor goes to Missy, and Missy's like, I heard you were spending domestic bliss on Beryllium, which is where during that Christmas special, like 2 years ago, he wound up spending like 26 years with River or whatever before she had to go to the library. And instead of Missy making a joke about when he finds out River is dead, actually has a friend moment and is like, my condolences. So I do like that through line that Moffat is strung throughout the relationship of Missy and the Doctor. And as much as she is evil and likes to screw with him, and her version of fun is trying to kill him, she does actually care about him, and that's kind of nice.
She's chaotic evil. It
informs the decision that the Doctor makes, I think, in sparing her as well, at least a little bit. In that,
I think he would have spared her no matter what. But yeah,
yeah, but still, I think it shows the audience, oh, she's not good.
The why to it, the qualities that he looks at.
Sure, and even in the episode, she says like, "Oh, I'll be good. Teach me to be good." I don't even think we're supposed to buy that for a second, because that'd be dumb. But still, I don't know.
I think though part of the Doctor wants to believe her but doesn't. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's always that part of him that wishes, kind of like a drug addict like relative, where you're like, okay, I'll take you in. Yeah, you can stay here. I know you're probably going to steal from me. Like, it's just what you feel like you're compelled to help. Fair. Even though you know it's fucked up. It always kind of feels like that to me with him. Almost not fatherly, because it's definitely a friendship, but maybe like cool uncle-y.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think drug addict friend is a real good analogy, because I could see that. Yeah, not even
she's like
family.
Addicted to the chaos and the killing and the I don't know, and it's something she's just drawn to. And you know, Johnston was very much the same way. They were friends, but like the drumming at first was more of like a it's sending me mad sort of thing. But I almost also think it's like an excuse. So, anyways, I also like the character moments of Nardole in this episode.
Yeah, well, I'm a little confused about Nardole now, because he is so... Why did he have such a loyalty to River Song where he felt the need to follow the Doctor around like this?
Well, if you remember, Nardole was the assistant to her on Beryllium during that whole thing, so they probably had a relationship, and then after that, there's 26 years, and in that time, I assume that's when he repaired Nardole, because we don't see that. You know what I mean? So that's 26 more years they're together, all three of them, and I assume he's an assistant robot, kind of like now. And so it's kind of like he's almost a nanny.
I guess. It's just the characterization, and I guess you could throw this away by saying it was in the simulation or whatever, but Nardole kind of does act real tough in front of Bill at one point too, and she's like, "Are you a badass?" And he's like,
"A secret badass."
Hell yeah, and he's like, "It ain't no secret, you know it, baby doll," or something real cringy.
And then he yelps. I thought that was a great moment. I thought that was funny.
Okay.
It totally informs, because he wants to be tough, but he's not. He puts on a facade of like authority, and I can speak for, you know, River Song, and I can speak for the Doctor, but he can't really back it up. But he knows enough to like, he's informed. He just can't really follow through. I don't know. I think that's a cool character idea.
See, I'm a little bit afraid because they also referenced this a little bit in Oxygen when they were talking about someone trying to basically rob the mining facility or whatever. And Nardole had a quick line where he's like, well, that's how I would do it or something. And they all kind of look at him and he's like, well, not me now, obviously. I'm a little afraid Moffat's hinting it like
There's a bait and switch.
I don't think he's like actually evil or anything, but maybe he like used to be a super criminal or something before River Song picked him up. You know what I mean? I don't want an actual
River Song's a super criminal.
I know, but I don't want it to be an actual thing, and I'm a little afraid Moffat's gonna try and overwrite that. But
well, the best way you could overwrite that is to give a Nardole a switch to the dark side and sign up with Missy.
Oh, that would be real stupid, and I would hate it. But anyway, that's all I had to say about that part. You have anything else to say about the Missy Doctor thing?
Not really. I mean, it was informed on why there was a thing, but I think you could have spread that out a little bit different. That was one of the parts I didn't like because it was kind of like out of nowhere.
Yeah. And the other thing I don't like is Moffat tends to use this trope way over too. The idea of an entire species that their whole goal seems to be we're the executioners of the universe. That's actually kind of an interesting concept. That's fine. Like, we need to know all the ways to kill all the species because that's a job. Fine. But then they have that thing at the end where the Doctor's trying to get him to run away, and he's like, look up your files on me. I'm the Doctor. Moffat loves, and his entire era is full of it, times when the Doctor relies on his reputation to scare away an enemy. I'm getting pretty sick of that. Like,
the first 3 times it was pretty cool. Like, especially like, okay, the first episode of Matt Smith's run, right? Very first episode, he talks to the eyeball monster thing. He's like, look up who I am, and then all the Doctors flash, and then it's cool because it shows Matt Smith walks through the hologram, and he's the new Doctor. That's how it is. It kind of establishes his legacy. That's fine. Okay, all right. But then he does it again with the Pandorica.
Yeah.
And then he does it again when he does the Rings of Akaton.
Yeah.
And he does it again on Demon's Run. And so, I mean, it happens a lot.
Yeah, there's something to be said for a character with a history and a reputation being able to use that history and reputation to their favor. But if you're doing it all the time, it stops feeling justified and starts feeling like they're just a fucking braggy asshole. That, you know what I mean? It feels less like I'm actually an impressive person, and I go around and telling everyone how impressive I am, and that's enough. And obviously the Doctor, how he's written, is impressive, and he is above everyone else. But if all he does to solve problems half the time is say that, it feels like cheap writing. It doesn't feel clever.
To be fair, you and I watch these seasons in between seasons. So maybe, like, if we were to just watch it all one time, it wouldn't feel that frequent.
Maybe. It just feels like, to me, it's saying, instead of writing a clever way out of this
totally
situation,
agree. Yeah,
I am going to lean on the clever writing of people in the past and just reference that and say, think of all the clever things that other people had me do. Doesn't that make you afraid I'm going to do a clever thing now? But I'm not gonna, because that would take work to write.
I would not be surprised to know that Moffat wrote 90% of those moments.
Yeah, that's probably about right. I assume he was definitely behind the Matt Smith one in his first episode, and definitely this one. So I assume some of the ones,
and definitely the Pandorica, because he does arcs like that. Like that, he's in charge of the arc stuff. So I don't know. Anyways, does he also do that with the Cybermen in Heaven Sent?
I don't know. He's done it a ton. He's done it so many times at this point.
Yeah.
So the meat part of the episode, which.
No, Clara does it on behalf of the Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Jesus fuck, man. That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode really...
Anyway, I did like this episode, though, because the concept is cool.
Yes. And the plot itself doesn't really matter. It's the slow reveal that really does it. And the reveal slowly becomes, okay, there's this book.
Can you believe... I'm sorry, but can you believe that Moffat paced the reveal well?
Yes, that's shocking as well. I'm actually pretty surprised. There's a book called The Veritas that when you read it, everyone who's ever read it kills himself. Interesting idea. Actually, turned out the solution was much more clever than I thought it was going to be for an episode of Doctor Who.
I just thought it was going to be like the reveal of what the actual case is, and then they decide to do that. But how they prove that it is the case is what makes them kill themselves, and that's the cool part. That was actually genuinely clever.
Yes. You get some funny gags in the episode. The Pope, for instance, is in there with the Doctor, and the doctor lands at Bill's house in the middle of a date. The Pope comes out, and the girl is like, "Is that the Pope?" Like, that's okay. That's funny.
Yeah, and then she walks into like the bedroom area, and there's a bunch of Catholic priests, and she books it, which is funny for two reasons. Number one, I mean, that's just weird as fuck. It almost looks culty. But also number two, they're lesbians, and those are Catholic priests, and I don't think they're very keen.
No,
you know.
So they take him to this library. By the way, another Moffat trope that I'm okay with certain jokes being repeated in Doctor Who, because again, it's a thing they do. They do running gags. That's fine. But I feel like Moffat's done this multiple times now, where the joke is just historical figure. Turns out it's a woman. So like the Pope Benedict, like the first one or something, I think is the one they name, and it turns out that it was a woman, and the Doctor had a thing with her or whatever. Which fine, I don't care. I know Moffat's used that joke before. I can't...
yeah, with the Queen, with the Virgin Queen.
Well, it's a similar joke, but I'm talking specifically about the historical figure thought to be a man was secretly a woman.
Yeah.
He's used that joke before, too. I can't put my finger on when, but I know
was there a philosopher or something in Greek? Maybe. I don't remember. But yeah, it's good for him, you know? Whatever. Also another Moffat trope is here's a library, and it's like it's designed to confuse you. Like there's some sort of quirk that only the Doctor and doctory people could possibly navigate. Bill would be lost without the guidance of these other people. I don't know, man. It's just like it doesn't have to be like the Vatican Library of heretical texts is a cool idea. And it felt, did you get like the connection to CERN and stuff? Whoa, Dan Brown ripoff.
A little bit. A
little bit. That's what? That's Angels and Demons 100%.
Yeah, I know. Well, they didn't use antimatter, and it wasn't that. They were tied together technically, but I think that was more just the same idea of you have an institution of pure, basically, religion and an institution of pure science, both worried about the same thing. I understand
why.
as a trope why that would.
That's why the Angels and Demons is because it's Angels and Demons. Did you get it?
Yeah, I've seen the movie.
Well, not the movie, the books, and then also they have the text that it flips up down. It's two sides of the same coin. It's a trope. It's a trope, Moffat.
So they go through this library. They see a portal. Yada yada yada. They find the Veritas. The Doctor gets. He's gonna read it, and he's gonna get his sight back via this device that will take away some regeneration energy from his future self and use it to heal his eyes for a couple minutes. I thought this was an interesting thing for him to do, and he was even saying, who knows, maybe I'll run out of regenerations, maybe my next regenerations will be blind, maybe, whatever. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting consequence, and I wonder if that'll play into it later, considering Moffat wrote this episode. Maybe it'll actually have something to do with his regeneration. But considering it's a simulation, no, I'm guessing not. It was just a fake out, but whatever.
Well, we did see in a preview of the season, like the moment of either the regeneration or a regeneration with Capaldi. So what I'm thinking is like although that was simulation Capaldi. So I don't know, but he does say that like regaining his sight will affect his regeneration somehow, and he might use that again. And I don't know, but regeneration is going to pop up soon, and I think it's the next episode.
Maybe. If not, probably the one after that. I assume sometime during this 3-parter it'll come up in a more prevalent way.
So is the next one definitely, or not the next one, the one after that, definitely part of the 3-parter, or was the one before this?
No, it's definitely the one after the next one.
So it's a 3.1-parter.
Sort of, yes. So they go forward. Bill and Nardole accidentally find a hub that's a portal to basically every important place. The Pentagon, the Vatican, CERN, the White House. Those are the ones we saw, I want to say. And it turns out, the twist of the episode is they're all in a simulation. They are simulations. This isn't the real Doctor, Bill, and Nardole. The alien species we've been seeing, which are being referred to as the monks. I don't remember if they called them that in this episode, but that's what they're going to be called, as the monks.
Yeah. And they also got called devils and demons or something like that.
And it turns out they've been running a full simulation of Earth, all of its history, including the Doctor and all these people, so they can practice invade it and decide when the best time and the best way to invade it is.
Which is a good concept. That's a really cool idea, actually.
Yeah, it reminded me of a Black Mirror episode. Moffat must have been watching Black Mirror since it's been on, because it reminds me a lot of the episodes with the cookies and with that San Junipero thing. It also feels a little bit like that Rick and Morty when they were in the simulations, but obviously taken more seriously. But I love the idea of a construct of the Doctor. This programmed Doctor is so close and so good at simulating the original, he still kind of fucks over the aliens.
Right. Well, he even talks about that. He's like, the problem with your simulation, it's too good. I'm too good. And he uses, and here's the Moffat-y thing, because he usually sonics something to win. It's a little different. He uses the sonic sunglasses to upload the events of that, because he's been recording the whole thing. And then he wins by losing in that scenario, and he uploads to the new Doctor. So at the beginning of the episode, when he sat down next to the vault, that was real Doctor.
Yes, and then when it says, the episode starts, it says, receiving email, Extremis.
Right.
And then titles, and then once the titles are over, it's in the simulation the whole time.
It was actually pretty clever, and I'm surprised that he paced it well enough. And didn't give us, any hints. You know what I mean? It like, no like, overt, Huh? Because he loves to wink and show you his erection.
Up until Nardole disappeared, I was still under the impression they were in a simulation, but I was under the impression they had been teleported into a simulation secretly or something. I didn't realize.
I thought they were real in the simulation.
Yeah, it wasn't until he disappeared that I started to think, oh, I see where you're maybe going with this. And even at that point, I was still kind of like, well, maybe it was just him. Maybe the other two are real, but he was there as information gathering for the aliens or whatever. But then when she disappeared, I was like, oh, yep, totally, cool. And I didn't mind the end again too much, because the virtual Doctor did fail. I'm sure right after this he did get shut down. He doesn't exist anymore. He was just able to help the real Doctor. So that's interesting. It's an episode that, in the long run, doesn't really have any lasting consequences. At best, the Doctor, the real one, has a little bit of foreknowledge of this invasion that's happening next week. And you got to see why Missy is in the vault, because she's a prisoner. I hope the explanation's a little better, because that's weak. Or I hope they utilize her in a unique way, because so far, pretty underwhelmed.
At the end of the episode, he has a moment where he's like, if I absolutely need you, I will ask for your help.
Wouldn't it be fun if the Doctor was out of commission, and then it turned out Missy had to save the Earth for an episode?
I would love a bait and switch like that. Moffat can undo a lot of his wrongs by, really surprising me in a positive way.
Yeah.
By doing something where, the Doctor gets, maybe he does that regeneration thing and he dies and they don't show you the Doctor for a while. And Missy has to save it. It resets somehow and then it comes back and she saved everybody. I'm down with that, especially because Michelle Gomez is so good. She has carried episodes. She can carry an episode as the Doctor-y one and imagine the way she would do it too. She would murder all of them.
Yeah.
That would be really, really interesting. And I think she has reason to do something like that because it's in her best interest and desires, because she wants to rule the earth to not let other people do it. I don't know. I think that'd be really, really fun.
Yeah. So let's see. Next week is called The Pyramid at the End of the World, which we saw in the Next Time trailer. There's a pyramid that appears in the middle of, I think it's Texas, I think was what the synopsis said. And this one, by the way, like I said, is written by Stephen Moffat and Peter Harness. Peter Harness wrote the... he wrote the Zygon Inversion and the Zygon Invasion, which were a good two-parter last season, I think. Did you like those?
Yeah.
I think the speech at the end was good. However, he also wrote Kill the Moon. So...
Oh! No! I think when we reviewed Kill the Moon, we said, but he wrote the Zygon stuff. So.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Okay, well, okay. But for the sake of argument, I did like the conversation of Kill the Moon.
Okay.
I like
get
the
what you're saying.
dialogue. The dialogue's good. The execution, absolute garbage. Kill the Moon is just trash. But the conversation leading up to the trash, pretty great.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Decent? So as long as they don't have a giant moon dragon, I think we're okay.
Maybe that's the Deus Ex Machina in the next episode. The Doctor, because it's written by Moffat and him, so maybe he'll pull out a sonic screwdriver, point it at the moon, and push a button, and
a
it'll
dragon comes
and a
down
dragon comes out and eats the pyramid.
And then Jenny and Vostra show up and like stab people, and they're like, "Hi, wink." Clara comes out of her diner TARDIS and like zaps some fucking. There's Daleks involved.
And then me comes
fucking
out.
Matt Smith comes through and just like dances through the scene. Yeah, that's. And then I kill myself. Then I end my life.
Me comes out and is making out with like a Cyberman.
Danny's alive now. Fuck.
K9 descends from on high.
No Strax though. He's dead. He died. It's over.
That's the last line of the episode. Foster looks right in the camera and says, "Strax is dead." Written by Stephen Moffat.
And then the credits is just the credits roll, and then it's just Stephen Moffat from basically it's a shot just like me, right? But he's just
and it's just soft piano of the Doctor Who song. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. And then it just says,
all right, this descended into fucking madness.
And then it just says R.I.P. Doctor Who 1962 to 2017. Don't like my stuff. Fuck you, from Moffat. Anyway, I think that's probably where this review ends.
Yeah, that's it.
Overall, I as much as, by the way, I liked this episode.
We do this with Doctor Who though every single time. We like this episode, but here's all the shit we don't like. Fuck you. It was a good episode. It had a good twist. I really actually like the CERN stuff because they do that. We didn't talk about it. They do a thing where they slap the table and they're like, okay, say a random number, and they always repeat the same number because the idea is that computers are really good at a lot of stuff, but they're not good at random numbers.
Oh, you know what I would...
Because the programming, of course, would pick the same thing if you're all the same program.
You know what I think would be a better writing there? This is, again, Moffat just needs someone to come in one more draft and be like, here's what would make this make a little bit more sense. Because if he is right in that computers running random number simulators, the numbers aren't random. They kind of have to make workarounds to make it random. But if you have the technology to simulate sentience, at the very least, they're going to have individual random number generators each. You know what I mean? They're not all going to have the same one. So what I would have done, I would have had it written, because this even sounds more Doctor Who-ish to me. It's a glitch. It's a bug in the program that the aliens haven't noticed because there's a million billion things going on. Why would they notice that one bug when people try and do random numbers? It's always the same number or something. That's how I would have had it
something
explained.
That they would, yeah. I mean, you could probably headcanon that, and it wouldn't be any different.
Sure.
But I think a little exposition of it would have been okay. But kind of why would the Veritas person that wrote that like explain it that way? You know what I mean?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Text.
Let's say it's a bug that's been in there since the program's been around. You know what I mean? It's the whole time, but someone only figured it out then. And it can still be written as an old-timey prophecy, magic-y thing. It's just the Doctor goes, it's a computer glitch. There's a glitch in the program, and you guys didn't realize it until just recently, and neither did we, and that's your undoing. That could even lead to a kind of a funny Doctor speech at the end. You know what I mean? When he's explaining what went wrong, and he goes, "You're a genius civilization that can copy the sentience of 6 billion people, but you didn't count on a computer bug," or something like that. Obviously, it would be written in a more clever way, but that's a very Doctor thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I would.
He always finds the one thing, the vent that he has to use the Force to shove a torpedo into.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. All in all, solid episode. Knock Knock is definitely the worst so far.
I agree.
But still, that's serviceable because it still has Doctor Who isms that aren't just Garden City with a girl that shows up at the end or a moon that's a dragon. So yeah, I'm very happy so far, and I can't wait for it to get fucked.
So thanks, everyone. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. I'm curious what percentage of people are mad because it didn't happen, air quotes. I've seen some people complain about that, but I disagree. It did.
The same people that worry about, like, what was it? Breathe? What was that? What was the one I'm thinking of? The one where it was probably not a monster. The monster was fear the whole time. Listen. Thank you. I love that episode because it takes all the tropes of Doctor Who that you expect, and it never gives them to you. And that's a fantastic. I even like Clara in that episode for the way that she deals with the kid doctor.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I don't know. I think there's something to be said for taking Doctor Who tropes and being like, you know what, we're not doing that this time. And for Moffat to do it, whew. I mean, I made a joke earlier, but it's probably true. It was probably the refractory period. He's probably like balls empty, just 3 faps in a row, and he sits down and he's got a clear head. He's not thinking about Clara or any of the other stuff. He's like, you know what, let's be original for once. And he wrote this in 15 minutes because that's all he can muster.
Even when we're being nice to the man, we are so mean. It's absurd. But seriously.
He just can't get out of his own fucking way, though, and I just wish he would, because when he's on, he's so fucking good.
I know.
Ah.
Anyway, until next time, I'm Hugo.
I'm bitter.
And this has been Who Cares? It's okay. It's a good season so far, Jake. It's all right.
Dude, if Clara shows up, I'm going to kill myself on camera. I'm going to fucking blow my brains out. It's okay, though. My last heartbeat. Just fucking live forever, sort of. Fucking idiot.